I've been debating on whether or not I should say anything about these cops that got shot. And I know coming from me is probably would be like, oh my God, because of the whole terrorist threats thing. But, here's something I'm going to point out, all right? The state charged me terroristic threats. I didn't make terroristic threats. I made a hypothetical legal argument. Now, I did put some graphic information in there for the whole purpose of, getting attention, drawing attention to the hypothetical legal argument. But here's the thing about it: there was never an intent to threaten anyone, and more importantly, there was never an intent, and I specifically mentioned this multiple times, that there was never an intent to actually, do a person any harm. Now, legally speaking, in order for the threat to be credible, you have to have an intent to make the threat, which I didn't have. But anyways, this is all got on the sidetrack, because what I was want to talk about was those two cops who were shot. And let me first say that my heart goes out to their families. Violence just begets more violence. What's the point of, killing a cop? Well, what's going to happen is now the other cops are going to say, well, there's people out there that are going to kill us, so we're going to have to be even bigger assholes than we already are. And the problem we're having with the whole situation is that no one is sitting down and talking. No one is sitting down and saying, this is the problem we have with the police force. This is the problem we have with the way the police act. This is the things that we need done to feel safer, because we don't trust our police force, because they've been militarized to the point that they treat us like we're the enemy, and we have a problem with that. Now, my case is a little bit different. My case was talking about a specific officer, or a specific group of officers, and their ties to organized crime. That's not every cop across the board. Now, I do often say I have a problem with every cop across the board, because the ones who know about this stuff allow it to happen. It's like watching The Dark Knight or something, Commissioner Gordon, before he became a police commissioner and got some power, just kind of turned a blind eye to what his other little buddies were doing that were illegal, criminal. And so, if you want to be treated with respect, you treat other people with respect. If you want to be treated fairly, you treat other people fairly. If you want to be treated with kindness, you treat other people with kindness. If you want to be shot dead in the fucking street, then you shoot people dead in the street. And it doesn't matter who started it. It doesn't matter if the cops killed Garner, if they were justified, if not. Under the law, they were justified simply because Garner was resisting arrest. But there's a certain point to where the situation could have been handled differently. And, you read a lot of stuff on the internet. Like, for example, that guy in New York, that cop in New York, who bought a homeless guy boots because his feet were cold. And he was, worried about the guy getting frostbite or something. Should he be killed because some assholes went and killed another guy? Should he be take it out simply because he has a badge and a uniform? And how's that any different than saying, that Gardner or anyone else deserved what they got because they were black, and there's black people that sell drugs? And yes, I realize this is a matter of socioeconomics, the social issue of being poor, of doing what you got to do to get money. I understand all that, but at the same time, I'm making a point here because it's basically racism, regardless. Except instead of racism, you're going with association, who these people are associated with. How's that any different than the racism people fear from the police? And I realize that as a response because of the racism from the police, that the response is to label all cops as bad. The problem you come into is at a certain point, Someone has to be a man. Someone has to be an adult. Someone has to say, okay, we need to just put everything down, stop, think, and talk. Alright? Right now, tensions are at their highest. Right now is the point where people need to sit down and talk and think and discuss. Not make demands, not make threats, but just sit down, talk, and think and discuss and see where that leaves us as not just Americans, but as human beings. Because I don't care if we have the first black president or not. I don't give a shit who's in office. None of that matters. I don't care about what some rapper says. I don't care about what some country singer says, some rock star. I don't give a fuck about my politicians, to be honest with you. But we as individual people need to stop and think and sit down and say, hey, you know what? There's something that we need to talk about here. There's some issues out there that we need to get out, and let's be adults. Let's be men. Let's quit squabbling and fighting like a bunch of school children where it escalates into people getting killed, and let's open a dialogue and talk. That's just my humble opinion. What do I know?